I worship Govinda, the original person, who in abodes built from spiritual gems, filled with trees that grant any wish, tends cows that yield all desires, and is always served with great reverence and deep love by unlimited numbers of consorts. I worship Govinda, the original person, whose beautiful form is tinged with the hue of blue clouds. He has blooming eyes like lotus petals, wears a peacock feather on his head, charms millions of cupids with his unique loveliness, and is adept at playing his flute. I worship Govinda, the original person, around whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with a moon locket, whose 2 hands are adorned with jeweled ornaments and hold a flute, who always takes pleasure in loving exchanges, and whose eternal and beautiful dark form, known as Shyama is gracefully bent in 3 places. I worship Govinda, the original person, whose eternal transcendental form is full of bliss and truth, and is thus filled with the most dazzling brilliance. Each of the limbs of his transcendental form possess the complete function of all the other organs, and he eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and material. I worship Govinda, the original person, who is inaccessible merely by studying the Vedic scriptures, but is obtainable by pure, unadulterated devotional service to him. He is without a second and not subject to decay. He is without a beginning, yet he is the beginning of everything. He is an eternal person, whose form is endless, and he possesses the beauty of blooming youth. I worship Govinda, the original person, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after transcendence through the breathing processes of pranayama, or by those trying to become one with his spiritual effulgence through a process of philosophical speculation that takes billions of lives to perfect. He and his potencies are one. Thus, in his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable from him. He exists independently as the Supreme Person, even though all universes are within him, and he is present in every atom at the same time. Such is Govinda, the original person, whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the original person who is praised with Vedic mantras by those whose hearts are imbued with devotion, and by so doing gain all the qualities and items needed to serve him and nourish their particular relationship. I worship Govinda, the original person, who resides in his own spiritual realm, Goloka, with his female counterpart Radha, who resembles his own spiritual figure. She is the embodiment of his ecstatic potency and is expert in 64 artistic activities. She expands herself into many females who are filled and vitalized by Govinda's ever blissful spiritual sweetness. I worship Govinda, the original Lord, known as Shyama, the beautiful dark person. He is Krishna himself and possesses innumerable inconceivable attributes. Pure devotees whose eyes of devotion are tinged with the salve of love see him within the core of their hearts. I worship Govinda, the original Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna, and from Krishna expanded into different avatars or incarnations in this world, such as Ram, Nrsimha, and Vamana. I worship Govinda, the original person whose bodily radiance is the source of the spiritual effulgence mentioned in the Upanishads as Brahman. This spiritual light is differentiated from all the glories of this world because it is the indivisible, infinite truth. I worship Govinda, the original person and ultimate entity who sustains and supports all existence, whose external potency, matter, embodies three qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance, and who diffuses Vedic knowledge regarding the material world. I worship Govinda, the original person, whose glorious activities forever outdo all the majesty and beauty of the material world. He is reflected in the minds of those who remember these pastimes as the transcendental entity who relishes sweet and blissful exchanges. The lowest part of creation is the material world, known as Devidam. Above this is Maheshdam, the abode of Lord Shiva. Beyond this is the vast spiritual realm called Vaikuntha, and above them is located Govinda's own realm called Goloka. I adore the original person Govinda, who has given different degrees of power and opulence to those planets and their rulers. Material nature, called Maya, is a shadow of the spiritual world and is worshipped in the form of Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying force of this world. I adore the original person Govinda, by whose will Durga acts. Just as milk is transformed into curd by the actions of acids, yet curd is not exactly the same as milk, nor entirely different, so I adore the original person Govinda, who transforms into the state of Shambhu, Lord Shiva, for the purpose of destruction of this world. The flame of one candle can light other candles, and all candles will burn equally. I adore the original person Govinda, who in the same way exhibits himself equally in his various expansions. I adore the original person Govinda, who assumes the form of Shesha, his own expansion, replete with the potency to accommodate all Krishna's needs, and lies in the infinite spiritual ocean beyond the entire material manifestation. Complete universes emanate from the pores of his skin as he enjoys creative sleep of Yoga Nidra. Brahma, the creator of this world, and the demigods, the controllers of this world, appear from the body of Mahavishnu and remain alive for the duration of one of his breaths. I adore the original person Govinda, of whom Mahavishnu is an expansion. I adore the original person Govinda, who empowers Lord Brahma to create and regulate the universe, just as the sun manifests some portion of his own light in all effulgent gems. I adore the original person Govinda, whose lotus feet are always held by Ganesh upon his head, in order to obtain the power needed to destroy the obstacles of those who seek his grace. The universe is composed of 9 elements: fire, earth, ether, water, air, direction, time, soul, and mind. I adore the original person Govinda, from whom they originate, in whom they exist, and into whom they enter at the time of universal dissolution. The sun, king of all the planets, infinitely effulgent, is like the eye of this world. I adore the original person Govinda, whose order the sun follows by journeying on the wheel of time. I adore the original person Govinda, by whose conferred power are maintained all the potencies that exist in all virtues and vices, penances, the Vedas, and in all souls from Brahma the Creator down to the smallest insect. I adore the original person Govinda, who by his infinite kindness destroys the karmic reactions of his devotees accumulated through lifetimes of ignorance and selfishness, and impartially ordains the karmic results for those engaged in material activities in accordance with their previous actions, no less in the case of a tiny insect than in that of Indra, king of the gods. I adore the original person Govinda, by meditating upon him, moved either by anger, conjugal affection, natural friendly love, fear, paternal affection, delusion, reverence, or willing service, one attains a bodily form befitting the nature of one's contemplation.